Hey everyone, my name is Madley. I'm a producer and composer in Los Angeles. I release original music under the artist name Hark Madley. Thank you, Andrew, for having me be a part of this special edition of the Four Producers series. I had a ton of fun working on the main title for Spacetime. I'm really excited to show you guys what I made. Let's check it out.
All right, so I've got my session opened up for the main title of Spacetime. I just want to talk a little bit about my approach. Before I write any music, I try to identify the feeling of the picture so that I can convey the same feelings in the music. And to me, as I was watching this, I got a feeling of like Andrew being the hero of our story. He's exploring space, the great unknown. And it's pretty like epic. There's these really cool shots of the spaceship and rockets. So, I wanted to hit feelings of mystery. I wanted it to feel like a hero's theme. With all that in mind, I decided what direction to take the music. The next step would be to identify the pacing of the picture so that I could pick a BPM and start writing. So as I was watching, I just tried to pick a few key moments I knew I would want to accentuate with the music. And the first one was this cut here to the first title card. And so I knew I wanted that to be like kind of the first downbeat of the piece. There's kind of this beautiful tension of the edit where you have like a slow-mo shot and then some fun, quick edit action. And then it kind of like settles onto another slow-mo shot. And so I kind of wanted to, accentuate those downbeats. So I ended up on 85 BPM. That's just what seemed to work well with the edit. With the technical side worked out of what BPM I'm going to work with and some of the key moments I want to hit with the music and the feelings I want to hit with the music, I can now finally start writing the music. But it's a lot easier for me when I have all these things already in mind before just diving in and trying to write. So let's take a look at some of the sounds. The first sound up here is this vocal hit that starts off the piece. So this is a sample of Andrew from a session we did earlier this year. Hear the world fall. And I think I just clipped it to here and put it on that note and then distorted and put some verb. Another thing I wanted to do is speak to the sensibilities of Andrew, because he's the sort of main character of our show here, speak to his musical sensibilities and his creativity. I thought including a vocal sample of him would be one of the ways to do that. And the next group of sounds here is the main melody. And we have my piano layered with phase plant. Add some fun texture, and then that's also layered with this prophet, which kind of sounds like a low horn to me. The next sound that joins on the melody in the second half, which is trumpet, and I wanted to record a trumpet on this because I felt like trumpet is definitely heroic and it definitely speaks to a space odyssey kind of feel. I contacted one of my favorite trumpet players, Marquise Hill, who's an amazing recording artist you should check out. And he was down to record some trumpet on this. So I sent it to him and he layered up the melody. So in the back half, trumpet joins. So I pushed the trumpet pretty hard to have it cut because I added these synths to the melody. Again, I just wanted to really hammer the melody aspect of this home. So I just layered up the melody a bunch. So in the second half, joining with the trumpet, one really bold sound here, which is the tall Juno layered with just a random MIDI trumpet note. And those are being distorted, going into some reverb, and then some EQ. That's layered with this other sound. which I just played that on my Prophet, and then those are being EQ'd together. These tracks are all going out of the melody bus, which is this track here. To top it all off, I wanted to add some strings because strings are super cinematic and dramatic and emotive. So I contacted a cello player that I love working with, Tahira Whittington. She's amazing. And so she layered up this melody as well. Here it is soloed. I really love it. And the reason why I have the melody mix to favor the synth is because I tried all sorts of different balances of these. When the cello was the loudest, it felt a little like Game of Thrones. When like the trumpet was too much louder than the synths, it almost felt like House of Cards or something. And so ultimately, I realized that like the synths needed to be the driving factor of the melody, supported by the cello in tandem with the trumpet. And then Tahira also recorded some textural parts that I laid in to embellish, just to hit different fun visual moments in the cut. One of the biggest things for me of any scoring situation is to work with musicians, because musicians like Marquise and Tahira, they know more about their instruments than I do. And so while I can, sketch some ideas, what's more valuable is to encourage and work with collaborators who bring their own creative vision to projects as well, and can add, cool textural moments like that. Like, for example, there's this trumpet harmony cluster that Marquise recorded. I didn't write this or anything. I gave the creative direction of some harmony stacks would be cool at some point. That's it. And then he delivers this, and it's that's amazing at this great moment when the chord changes from minor to major, and then this uplifting trumpet stack comes in. I love collaborating with great musicians because they bring great ideas to the table. Some other cello stuff Tahira recorded. Staccato. And then I layered that with 2 collegno parts. I really love layering short bowed strings with the collegno, which is the other side of the bow, the wood. They drive and they cut, and I love that sound. And then moving on, we have our big synth group here. We have some textural stuff, and we have some more driving featured stuff. So the textured stuff comes from my modular synth. There's this cool shot of the shoes that say far out. And so obviously you got to take that moment far out. You know what I mean? So here is me taking that moment far out. I had a lot of fun making that sound, to be honest. Then there's this main arpeggio part. And this is coming from the Prophet. I really wanted this front half of the piece to feel very open, but also it needed to have the momentum. So this arp kind of takes care of that, where it can sit in the mix and be a little hidden and round in sound, but still driving with the arpeggio aspect of it. And it gets brighter in the second half. And then the last synth sound is this cool serum pad that I made that just got that pulse to it. And the pulse is coming from just a simple LFO on the cutoff frequency. Through the piece, I am modulating how much that LFO is affecting the cutoff, so that actually the filter is not getting brighter, but how much the LFO is modulating the filter is getting more dramatic. Here's our bass group. We have a reverse bass, which then turns into a forward bass. And that's coming from the BIA, which is a modular synth module somewhere around here. I also grabbed that as a sample and put it in a drum rack here and modulated the sample start time through the phrases so that it increases in intensity, as well as put a filter on it to grow in brightness. I really try to have the arc of the piece present in every part as much as possible. so that you can feel, even if you're listening to it soloed, you can feel the growth of the piece. And then this fat profit bass. And now open up the drums group. So we have this like eighth note kick going through the whole piece. Pretty straightforward stuff. Rather than programming individual velocities, a lot of times I just throw on the velocity tool and automate the high output. Here's a subgroup that I've called drum kit. It's not a real drum kit, but it's a bunch of individual parts that I programmed. It starts with this kick, which sounds like this. What's giving it its real vibe is the thermal. Cool distortion plugin has a feedback feature, which is really dope actually. And then here's the snare drum, which is a few snares layered up, including a reverse one. In addition to the snare, this was an Addictive Drums track that I just did some light drum set programming in. And here's the last part of the drum set, which is the toms fill. Tom-toms that I did with MIDI and then froze and flattened. And this track below is me sending those toms out to my pedal chain and printing the effects so that I could have fun moments. And then we just have a few percussion tracks. This is a white noise thing that sounded kind of like a military snare drum to me. Layers up with a few other things for the finale section. And then the last group of tracks here is the FX, which is mainly risers and bass drops. Just to take a quick look at the mastering chain, I'm putting the whole mix through thermal just to add a little bit of bite to it. I think like almost 5 decibels on the light shaper mode. I think that might even be the default that thermal pops up as, but it just sounds so good. I love it. Multiband compression to tame the area that sucks and the area that I just needed to get under control a bit. LA2A gray, because this is the best compressor. Pultec EQ to boost 2 at 16 dB, and just to add the color of this plugin, which is really lovely. This utility is automated to add 0.17 decibels of gain at the final section, just to push the limiter a little bit more in the finale, just so it feels super big and cathartic. And then the Pro L is 4 decibels.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed what I made for the main title of Spacetime. Once again, you can find my music online under Hark Madley. Thank you again to Andrew and to the other composers, and thank you for watching this video. Have an amazing day. Peace.